Chapter 120, Good Traditions. Reporting to the Crown Prince, General Zhen Nan is here and waiting for you by the door. Oh, all right. Wei Changping calmed himself down, his face reverting to the respectful and friendly appearance. Anyone who sees his appearance now would definitely feel a sense of warmth. Wei Changping now looked like someone who could be completely trusted and confided in. Wei Changping then walked towards the entrance of the Crown Prince's palace to receive his guest. In the morning, Ling Tian still did not bother about his image as he walked out of the room while stretching lazily. At the same time, he even yawned to the skies. In the little courtyard, Zhu Ling hugged his sword and leaned on the rack of grapes. His eyes were closed as though he was dozing off. Yesterday night, Zhu Ling was pranked by Ling Tian's 3 bricks and dragged into a bloody battle. It exhausted Zhu Ling of his heart, body and inner strength. Being surrounded by the enemies alone, facing the attacks of multiple experts with death being so near him. Up until now, Zhu Ling still felt a lingering fear in his heart. After returning to Ling Tian's courtyard with great difficulty, Zhu Ling was already completely exhausted. Zhu then helped him to circulate his inner qi for a full 2 hours. Only after recovering his inner qi did Zhu Ling feel a little better. But up until now, he still looked as though he was in a terrible condition. "Eh, brother Zhu Ling, you're up early." Ling Tian yawned and walked towards Zhu Ling as he stretched his back. Zhu Ling looked at Ling Tian for a moment before closing his eyes again. Zhu Ling was also puzzled about the Ling family's strength. When Zhu went out to take a look in the morning, he said that every family in the Sky-bearing Empire was searched, even the houses of the government officials were no different. However, the Ling family was still tranquil, as though they weren't aware about the matter. This made Zhu Ling a little surprised. While he did not think that Nan Gongla was killed by the Ling family was the biggest enemy of the Yang family on the surface. Thus, the Ling family should be the one with the largest suspicion. However, why did the Yang family search every house except for the Ling family? As the door opened with a soft creak, Yu Bingyan walked out from the house neatly dressed. Seeing that Ling Tian was already in the courtyard, her beautiful eyes twinkled with happiness. For her to see him, the person who cared for her so much, the first thing in the morning, it was a form of happiness which made Yu Bingyan feel extremely contented. Hee, beautiful eyes and distinct features, lotus-like face and willow-like brows. Little sister, you forgot to put on your disguise today and you're radiating with beauty. Ling Tian looked at her tan face and commented. Ah. Really? Yu Bingyan was startled. Don't tell me. She turned around quickly and ran into the bedroom. Halfway into the bedroom, she suddenly snapped into her senses and turned around seething with anger. Tian''G.T. Only knows how to lie. I was applying the face concealing powder just now and stared at the mirror for such a long time. With a smile which did not seem like a smile, Ling Tian said, "Little sister, so you have to conceal your appearance every day? Does that mean that you will wash it off before you sleep? If that's the case, this little brother does not mind hiding on the roof for one night to see your true appearance." Yu Bingyan giggled, "I'm not going to tell a baddie like you." Ling Tian laughed and wanted to tease her further. However, a maidservant walked over. "Young noble, old madam seeks your presence." Ling Tian acknowledged and said to Yu Bingyan, "Yanner, don't run around. This elder brother will teach you painting when I am back." Yu Bingyan responded with a as she revealed a smile. "Pighead, while I did approach you initially because I wanted to learn painting, this is no longer the case anymore. As long as I can see you every day, that will be fine. Whether or not I learn painting is not important anymore. As long as I am in your house, I will never go out. But I do not have much time left and every extra second I look at you will be a blessing." Yu Bingyan looked at Ling Tian's back view, while she had a wide and beautiful smile, tears began to fill her eyelids. "You sent someone to kill Nan Gongla, right?" After old Madame Ling saw Ling Tian, she dismissed everyone around her and got into the main topic. Old Madame Ling was in good spirit, with her face glowing red with healthiness. In this past decade, Ling Tian had used his inner qi to adjust the bodies of Duke Ling, old Madame Ling, his parents and Mr. Qin. Of course, his grandfather and parents were unaware of the matter. The way Ling Zhou and Ling Zan were so careless must really be praised, not realizing the matter at all. As for Chu Tinger, she did not know a single bit of martial arts and thus did not find out either. While they all grew older and older, their bodies seemed to grow healthier, looking as though they could live for another 20 to 30 years. Ling Tian laughed. "Grandmother, I sometimes suspect that you are secretly tailing me. Why is it such that you know everything I do?" "HMPH, little brat, I wonder who you learnt all these from, a stomach full of bad water and head full of evil schemes. This old lady here still finds it very strange. Your grandfather and father are both straightforward and simple-minded fellows, and the Ling family never seemed to have any wise figures before. Why is it such that there is a weirdo like you in this generation?" Old Madame Ling scolded laughingly. "Grandmother, you are maligning me." Ling Tian walked to old Madame Ling's back and massaged her lightly. Stretching her neck comfortably, old Madame Ling turned behind and said, "But ever since I've seen through you, your grandmother can also be more relaxed. These few years have been tiring. Hayes, I just cannot count on your grandfather or father for anything." Ling Tian laughed. "Grandfather and father are both straightforward and good men. Since when did anyone question grandmother and mother's taste? As for the Ling family, it has indeed been hard on grandmother to run it all by herself for so many years. But, grandfather and father just cannot help much, and so grandmother has to have a greater burden. But, grandmother does more work because you are much more capable, doing it without complaint." While the Ling family looks prosperous, the truth was that dangers laid all around. In order to let the Ling family have a larger influence in the sky-bearing empire, old Madame Ling used all of her means and schemes to grow the Ling family into one of the 8 great families. Everything in the family was ran by old Madame Ling single-handedly. After so many years, she was indeed starting to feel tired. Hearing the caring words from her grandson, old Madame Ling gave a satisfied sigh. "It's good that you know. Hayes, it is not just the fact that your grandfather and father cannot be of any help. Those 2 dim-witted fellows." Old Madame Ling then shook her head while sighing as she said mournfully, "Originally, your mother, Chu Tinger, is also an intelligent and meticulous person. She was the person who I was intending to groom to be my successor. If not for your appearance, the Ling family would probably walk down the same path of having the female as the head." Ling Tian laughed. "Same path? Grandmother, the Ling family has always been ran by females?" "HMPH." Old Madame Ling rolled her eyes at Ling Tian. "That's right, before we became one of the 8 great families, us weak ladies have always been the one holding up the family. This has already become a tradition of our Ling family." Her face then turned red as she said, "Take your grandfather for example, there is only me, your grandmother. As for your father, there is only your mother. Let me tell you, before the both of them, many generations of our ancestors only had a single wife. The best tradition of such straightforward men is that they are all henpecked males." Ling Tian's eyes widened in shock as he also stopped massaging his grandmother unconsciously. He had never expected the Ling family to have such a glorious tradition. Only after a while did he burst out into laughter, laughing until his tears flowed out. "The ancestors of our Ling family, it has really been hard on all of you. What are you laughing at? If you do not have any abilities and continue to be so useless, I will also find a daughter-in-law to control you." Old Madame Ling rebuked in anger. Ling Tian laughed until his body cramped up. After a while, he finally managed to control himself. "Grandmother, rest assured. If I, Ling Tian, cannot even handle my own wife and concubines, I would rather just buy a piece of tofu to commit suicide. Old Madam Ling then flew into a rage and pinched his ears. So you are trying to say that your grandfather and father should buy a tofu to commit suicide? HMPH. Ling Tian grimaced in pain as he pleaded for mercy. Grandmother, arg. Softer. What I mean is, there are no longer heroines like you and grandmother anymore. Where would grandson be able to find such a capable lady? Grandfather and father are the luckiest. Your grandson will be satisfied if I can find someone like the both of you to warm my sheets. Besides that, how can grandfather and father be said to be useless? They are only useless at home, right? That's more like it. Old Madam Ling let go of his ears in satisfaction and took a seat. Haha, grandmother, I thought that the Ling family's ancestors made a rule that their descendants can only have a single wife. So, this wasn't the case. Ling Tian chuckled. HMPH, as long as you can watch your wives, no one would say a thing if you can find 100 of them. As long as your body can take it, this old lady is still waiting to have a great-grandchild. Old Madam Ling trembled. Ling Yang laughed. I am not so frivolous. While it was a little rash for you to kill Nan Gongla this time, it was a large action. After digressing enough, Old Madam Ling went back to the main topic. Ling Tian smiled. Grandmother also thinks that it is a large action? Little brat, don't look down on your grandmother. Do you think I cannot see through your little tricks? Old Madam Ling slapped his back in anger. Nan Gongla is only a silk pants descendant. Even in the Nan Gong family, he is an unimportant character. It wouldn't matter even if 100 of him were to die. But the problem is the timing which you chose to do so, accurately picking the most critical time. With the accurate time you chose, it would definitely create a huge storm. Ling Tian's face grew serious. He never imagined that his grandmother would be able to pinpoint the most important part of his plan with just the news of Nan Gongla's death. Age indeed brings wisdom. Nan Gongla died under the protection of the Yang family, and it happened coincidentally after they fixed the marriage. If it was any other time, the Yang and Nan Gong family will break out into a fight. Then, after the Yang family does something in the sky-bearing empire, the matter would be over. But now, your idea is just far too scheming. The timing which you chose joined this matter with the situation in the continent, making Nan Gongla become famous after his death and becoming a key person in the continent. Chapter 121, Large Actions. Ling Tian smiled. Does grandmother think that this is a large action too? Little brat, don't look down on your grandmother. Do you think I cannot see through your little tricks? Old Madam Ling slapped his back in anger. Nan Gongla is only a silk pants descendant. Even in the Nan Gong family, he is an unimportant character. It wouldn't matter even if 100 of him were to die. But the problem is the timing which you chose to do so, accurately picking the most critical time. With the accurate time you chose, it would definitely create a huge storm. Ling Tian's face grew serious. He never imagined that his grandmother would be able to pinpoint the most important part of his plan with just the news of Nan Gongla's death. Age indeed brings wisdom. Nan Gongla died under the protection of the Yang family, and it happened coincidentally after they fixed the marriage. If it was any other time, the Yang and Nan Gong family will break out into a fight. Then, after the Yang family does something in the sky-bearing empire, the matter would be over. But now, your idea is just far too scheming. The timing which you chose joined this matter with the situation in the continent, making Nan Gongla become famous after his death and becoming a key person in the continent. Old Madam Ling then praised with a neither fast nor slow pace. A small little Nan Gongla can be used by you to create such a storm. This plan of yours is extremely bold but yet intricately planned. Even your grandmother is in awe. Ling Tian then chuckled. How can things be so serious? It is just the head of a silk pants. HMPH. The time when this head of his fell is when the undercurrents are surging with the storm brewing. Not only the Nangong and Yang family, all the various powers in the continent who has an ambition would also make use of this head to create a storm. For Nangongla to die in such a moment, it has given many families a chance. They can use this chance to fish for information, or even break the original balance. For the various powers to gain what they want, they will have to pay a similar price as well. In the process of all these, their real strengths would also surface gradually. As for what the end result will be, no one will be able to imagine it. But old Madame Ling smiled. There is one outcome that is obvious. Due to the death of Nangongla, Yang Kongkun's actions had already drawn the attention of the imperial family. Furthermore, the marriage between the Yang and Nangong family would also be dissolved because of this. The one who would benefit the most from these two outcomes would be our Ling family. Furthermore, our Ling family did not reveal any of our hidden strengths. Your calculations and perfect timing indeed left me in awe. The moment the news of this matter is spread, the Yang family would suffer the greatest burn from the aftermath. With a child of their Nangong family dead, the Nangong family will definitely not let the matter rest so easily. They would definitely make a huge commotion because of this matter. The imperial family of our sky-bearing empire will definitely keep one of their eyes closed towards the conflict between the Nangong and Yang family after witnessing the frightening strength the Yang family displayed the other day. In fact, they may even add fuel to the fire, making use of the opportunity to weaken the Yang family. Old Madame Ling said with a thumbs up. That's right, grandmother has the same thoughts as me. Ling Tian praised, grandmother is the best. Scram. Is this any different from blowing your own trumpet? If you are not going to tell me about your full plan, do you believe that this old lady will beat you up with a walking stick? Old Madame Ling pretended that she was angry. However, the smile on her face made it difficult for one to imagine that she was going to beat someone up. Ling Tian pretended to be afraid and shrunk his neck back. He did not continue to be glib-tongued and said, "This is grandson's plan. The moment this issue spreads, all the major powers would definitely be attracted. There is no need to mention the Nangong family, Yang family and imperial family of our sky-bearing empire. That Western Han had just suffered a defeat in the hands of father and will definitely want to stick their heads in this matter to ease the pressure within their country. The Wu Empire has been fighting the southern Jing for a long time and had always been on the losing end. Now that such a huge matter happened in the Nangong family from the southern Jing, the Wu Empire will definitely add fuel to the fire in secret as well, to give them some time to catch a breath." Ling Tian then drank a sip of tea and cleared his throat. As for the Northern Wei, the little princess of the Yu family is in the sky-bearing empire right now. With such a matter erupting in the sky-bearing empire, the Yu family will definitely send more experts or fetch their little princess back. As such, the powerful Yu family would unknowingly be dragged into this affair as well. Due to their apprehensions towards the Yu family, the various powers would not dare take things too far and will only operate in secret. Furthermore, the elites from the Zhou family would also not be willing to stay out of this matter. They would definitely send people to the sky-bearing empire as well, to see if they can use this matter to spark a world war. As for the other empires, they would definitely not let go of this opportunity to weaken the sky-bearing empire and would definitely make an issue out of this matter. Old Madame Ling's eyebrows creased up tighter and tighter. Ling Tian's plan had completely exceeded her expectations. She could not help but consider deeply. This old lady thought too simply. What about our Ling family? Tanner, you are really playing with fire. If the war breaks out from the sky-bearing empire, have you thought about the consequences? Our sky-bearing empire would be the first to get destroyed. Ling Tian then gave a carefree smile. It definitely won't. Currently, the only power which would want the war to start is probably the Zhou family. Up until now, the Northern Wei has not received clear support from the Yu family. As long as the Yu family does not express their support for them, the Northern Wei would definitely not dare to make any rash movements. The Southern Zheng and Wu Empire are presently at war and are both exhausting their resources. If they join the battle in the Sky-bearing Empire, the Southern Zheng and Wu Empire will be surrounded by enemies for sure. This is something which they will not be able to accept presently. Thus, they will take action but ensure that they do not step on the bottom lines of the various powers. Not just them, even if the other powers have such intentions, both the nations would definitely stop the other powers. The Western Han had just suffered a great loss from the loss of the Valley of Sobbing Spirits. The hearts of their people are wavering and the morale of their troops low. Thus, they would definitely not launch a war anytime soon. So, even if the Western Han has actions, they would only stay behind the scenes and try to sow discord. They would definitely not make any large actions. The Moon Deity Empire is too far away and may not even come. By the time they receive news about the matters here, everything would have been over. As for the Eastern Zhou Empire, they are currently fighting the Moon Deity Empire. They would only be torturing themselves if they were to start another war. As for our Sky-bearing Empire, we do not have the guts, or strength, to do so. The moment we stir up trouble, we will face enemies from all directions and will be destroyed immediately. The only possibility is the Zhou family. However, the Zhou family also has their considerations. From the way they did not take any actions in recent years while receiving benefits from all sides, they also have the intention of spectating the fight. While the different nations break out in occasional skirmishes, they do not exhaust much resources in reality. Apart from the battle between our Sky-bearing Empire and Western Han having an obvious win and loss, the battles between the other empires are no more than training for their troops. If the Zhou family rise to prominence now, they can be considered to be one of the most powerful force. However, the moment they stir trouble, they will become the target of every empire. With the superior equipment and wealth that the Zhou family has, all the different powers are already extremely wary of them. Thus, Zhou Fenghan will only choose to sow discord in the dark and will not take action openly. With all the different empires on guard and wary, none of them would be willing to take the initiative or fall for the Zhou family's trap. Ling Tian then chuckled. Besides, facing the 1,000 years accumulation of the Yu family, which family would dare to make a rash move? Even if the Yu family isn't willing to take action, the Sky-bearing Empire still has your grandson present. If I see someone enjoying himself too much, I will chop his head off and throw it into the river like Nangongla. As for our Ling family, this is the best chance for us to see the hidden strengths of all the different families. When the storm brews in our Sky-bearing Empire, the strength of all the different powers would be as bright as day. While all of these fellows are so ambitious, they are all extremely patient. Such a situation is just so unbearably ambiguous. Who knows when they want to continue this ambiguity until? If we do not break it soon, when will the chance for our Ling family to receive benefits from all directions come? Ling Tian then stood up proudly. This matter is just a spark. While all the different great families will definitely take action, they will hold themselves back for sure. Unless a family breaks the balance and ignites fear in the other powers, the war will definitely not begin now. While all the various powers are moving into action this time, it will be nothing more than just a huge farce at the end of the day. But the problem is that even if they know that it is only a farce, none of them will be willing to give up on this opportunity to know more about their opponents. In fact, they may even take this chance to build alliances. Thus, even if they know that this is a trap, they will still jump in willingly. As long as a single power chooses to jump down this trap, the other powers will not be able to hold back and jump down as well. By the time they jump into the trap, they will realize that they can only maintain a balance again. But at that time, our Ling family would have gotten what we wanted. By the time he finished his explanation, he had a cunning smile on his face. Say. Old Madam Ling took in a breath of cold air. Just how did the brain of this grandson develop? Such a huge plan and yet such meticulous planning. Every single power in the continent, the 7 empires, 8 great families and largest financial magnate, all fell into his plan without a single one being missed out. As someone who had fought on the front lines of a battle before, old Madame Ling knew that if Ling Tian's plans were to succeed, the Ling family would be able to obtain the most detailed information about all the great families. The effect of this information, and outcome from using it, was something which could not be imagined. At the very least, they would be able to take the initiative in an attack if they know their enemies well, planning their victory from 1,000 miles away. After hearing what Ling Tian said, the worry in old Madame Ling's heart disappeared completely. Since her grandson had such a meticulous plan, what was there for her to be worried about? Chapter 122, Master-Disciple Reunion. Little brat. You've scared me to death. Old Madame Ling calmed herself down as she scolded Ling Tian laughingly with a knock on his head. While her words sounded to be of regret, they were actually of comfort. Hee hee. Grandmother, because I was afraid that you would be worried, your grandson said so much and my mouth is already dry. Does grandmother have any rewards for me? Ling Tian said with a cheeky smile. For making this old lady so worried, I shall have some exercise and reward you with 2 walking sticks. How about that? Old Madame Ling teased. Ah. Can't be right? Ling Tian said bitterly. Right, is the lady in your courtyard the little princess of the Yu family? Old Madame Ling asked excitedly, like a grandmother finding a wife for her grandson. That's her. Oh, didn't the rumors say that the little princess of the Yu family is a 1 in 1,000 beauty? Why does she look like that? Old Madame Ling asked with depression. Oh, she smeared a face-concealing powder to conceal her true appearance. Ling Tian explained. Oh, then find some time to get her to wash it off and bring her to me so I can take a look. Old Madame Ling said excitedly. Ling Tian's face changed as he changed the topic quickly. Grandmother, where is grandfather and father? If Yu Bingyan wanted to remove her concealment, she would have done so already. Since she was not willing to remove it, what would be the purpose of forcing her to do so? Thus, Ling Tian changed the topic quickly. Your grandfather does nothing every day, drinking and fooling around with those old friends of his. I also don't know what he does every day. As for your father, there is no need to mention him. Old Madame Ling sighed. Now, I just want to beat your father up when I see him. Ah. What happened to father? Ling Tian asked with doubt. His father had always been Phil and always listened to grandmother. How did he anger her? That stupid donkey. Because some of his opponent's generals died a mysterious death, he had won a few huge battles. Especially with him winning back the Valley of Sobbing Spirits, his head has swelled up to the size of a watermelon already. He goes to the military department for tea every day, proudly thinking that he is the battle god of the sky-bearing empire. I am angered the moment I see him. Why doesn't he think carefully about the few mysterious victories? After not being able to find an answer, he just decided to place all the credit on himself. He is just blur and egotistical to the extreme. Old Madame Ling scolded hatefully. Ha 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 ha. Ling Tian, who was drinking a mouth of tea, spit it out in laughter. What are you laughing about? Old Madame Ling said angrily, this old lady is still not done yet. Father, ha ha ha, he is just too cute, ha ha ha. Imagining his father pacing about with a teacup in his hands and eyes looking towards the sky, Ling Tian could not help but laugh even harder. Scram back to your courtyard to accompany your little princess. Don't create trouble at my place. Now that old Madame Ling's worries were all addressed, and seeing how Ling Tian was laughing so arrogantly, she could not help but chase him out laughingly. Before Ling Tian left the room, old Madame Ling did not forget to add, remember to bring that glass to see this old lady after she removes her concealment. Ling Tian then agreed reluctantly and escaped. Young noble, Mr. Ken is back and is at the north gate. But, his carriage was stopped by the Yang family, saying that they want to find the culprit. The guards accompanying him are now in confrontation with the Yang family. Just when he left his grandmother's room, a guard ran towards him hastily. What? Yang family? Ling Tian began to think about the matter. It seems that the Yang family is finally going to start testing me. I knew that they would definitely doubt me. If I do not go, the Yang family will definitely think that I have a guilty conscience. This time, I do not have a choice but to go. In fact, I must definitely put on a strong front. They actually dare to block my men. If I do not show you my true colors, you will not know why the flowers are red. Call Wang Tong and Li King. Then, call a few more men and follow me to receive Mr. Qin. Ling Tian commanded without hesitation. Wang Tong and Li King were both from the 36 Blood Iron Warriors, who he kept behind on purpose to be the head of the Ling family guards, and had exceptional strength. A short while later, the both of them arrived with a group of guards. All of them were in full battle gear and had a look of excitement on their faces. Following the young noble out is always extremely fun. Furthermore, they would be able to exercise their bodies a little, and they were excited indeed. As they heard that the young noble was the one calling for men, all the guards fought for the opportunity and rushed out immediately. As for those who were not chosen, they were all rather depressed. Prepare the horses. Go to the north gate. The gates of the Ling mansion opened up wide and the herd of horses dashed out from within. Young noble Ling was dressed in white while riding a black horse. His horse was the first to dash out of the mansion and fitted in completely with the saying, "Man like jade, horse like dragon." It was just that this young noble seemed to be mumbling something with a look of ruthlessness on his face. With a fling of his whip, a loud smack sounded and the horse gave a loud neigh, sprinting forward like an arrow. Behind him, almost 100 guards sprinted after Ling Tian. They actually dared to sprint on horses on the busiest street of the capital, causing all the passers-by to raise their eyebrows at such an action. They then continued to sprint all the way to the north gates extremely arrogantly. A spy, who was dressed as a beggar outside the Ling family, reported this news to the Yang family immediately. The north gate is in sight. Ling Tian went to the north gate. He brought 100 people. Looking extremely arrogant. As per his usual personality. Yang Kongkun twiddled his beard and asked. Yes. This subordinate saw it personally. That Ling Tian went to the north gate indeed, it can't be wrong. His arrogance is also as per usual. A hawker-looking individual replied respectfully. Oh, I understand. Yang Kongkun waved his hands, commanding them to leave. Does grandfather think that Ling Tian is suspicious? By the side, Yang Wei's head was wrapped with a white cloth as he sat down on the chair with a fatigued-looking face. Before Yang Kongkun said anything, he first let out a sigh. Looking at his grandson, he felt that his grandson was becoming more and more of an eyesore. Because Ling Tian was a silk pants, Yang Kongkun had been mocking Ling Zan for more than 10 years, having the upper hand in words. But at this moment, he realized that his grandson was no much better than Ling Tian. In fact, he was still considerably inferior as compared to Ling Tian. At the very least, while Ling Tian was arrogant, he had never suffered a loss before. His own grandson was extremely arrogant as well, but also a good-for-nothing. His grandson was indeed the misfortune of the family. Yang Lei glared at his son before looking towards Yang Kongkun. Father, you think? Yang Kongkun shut his eyes for a while and did not say anything. Only after a short while did he reply, I cannot confirm anything right now. We should make a conclusion after the news from the North Gate comes back. He then let out a long sigh. If our Yang family is going to suffer a great loss. Yang Kongkun's expression grew serious. Yang Wei and his father then looked towards each other, not daring to say anything. North Gate. Ling Tian led the way and sprinted all the way here. In front of him, 8 guards from the Yang family were separated into 2 rows, checking anyone who enters or exits the city. By the city gates, There was a carriage stopped quietly with a few guards of the Ling family guarding it with their swords drawn, with an atmosphere of hostility in the air. In front of them were a few guards from the Yang family, saying something with spittle flying all around. Seeing that Ling Tian led the troops personally, the guards of the Yang family began to curse silently in their hearts. Thinking about the instructions of Yang Kongku, they could only grit their teeth and shout, "Young noble Ling, we are all just following instructions. I hope that young noble will understand." Bah! Before he finished his sentence, the whip of the horse had already lashed out as Ling Tian shouted, "Understand? What can you guys be considered? This young noble does not have the time to waste with you." Scram! The speed of his horse was not reduced at all, sprinting at top speed. The faces of the Yang family's guards changed as they hurriedly escaped with a roll. Smoke and dust were then kicked up behind Ling Tian as he charged past the guards. On the carriage, a white-haired old man looked out for the first time after the carriage had been stopped. With the support of the guards, he walked down the carriage slowly. After he got off, he said to Ling Tian with a smile, "You're here? Mister, you're back." Ling Tian got off his horse and received Mr. Ken with emotional eyes. 3 years ago, Mr. Ken's wife fell seriously ill and Ling Tian was only able to extend her life by a few months despite giving it all he had. After she passed away, Mr. Ken was heartbroken as his heart turned cold and dead. He returned to his hometown with his wife's coffin and left for 3 full years. In the 3 years, apart from visiting every once in a while, Ling Tian would send men to provide daily necessities and had empathized with Mr. Ken's feelings. To a loving pair of couple, things were not as simple as husband and wife when young, companions when old. The first person to move on to the afterlife is usually the most blessed, because the blow to the other party was just too great. This was something that Ling Tian was able to understand. Thus, he tried his best to give Mr. Ken more time and space to recover and adjust himself. Ling Tian was certain that Mr. Ken would return. Now, Mr. Ken is indeed back. Just when the storm was brewing in the sky-bearing empire with all the powers gathering, he returned to the disciple he was most pleased with. Both old and young looked at each other and could see the joy in each other's eyes. Mr. Ken was glad about his disciple's growth and Ling Tian was glad about Mr. Ken's return. The 100 guards stood behind them quietly in 2 rows, protecting them silently. Ling Tian then turned around and commanded with a wave of his hands, "Mr. Ken, please board the carriage. We welcome Mr. Ken's return. Mr. Ken, please board the carriage. We welcome Mr. Ken's return." All the guards shouted. Their voices shook the heavens and earth, as the unending echoes sounded. With tears in his eyes, he smiled to the guards and cupped his fists. "This Ken thanks all of you. I thank the young noble for receiving me personally." Ling Tian stretched out his hands to personally raise the curtains on the carriage. "Mister, please." Mr. Ken looked at him deeply with joy, gratitude and even respect in his eyes. But he did not say a thing as he got into the carriage. Ling Tian then let down the curtains and ignored the hundreds of Yang family guards, set off. Chapter 123, City Gate Drama. Bah! The guards seating at the front of the carriage whipped the horse and whistled out loud. The 4 horses then began to move as the carriage moved slowly. "Young noble Ling, wait." A middle-aged man grit his teeth and walked out. As Ling Tian glanced over, he realized that he was a butler called Yang Yun. This middle-aged man usually groveled with Yang Wei, committing many unspeakable acts. At least half of what Yang Wei did was suggested by this middle-aged man. Using Ling Tian's words, "This fellow's face is full of skin ulcers and blisters all over his feet, he was completely bad. Is anything the matter?" Ling Tian lowered his head as his whip unknowingly lashed out onto his boots. Ling Tian did not even look him in the eye, treating him like air. While Yang Yun was fuming, the silk pants in front of him was indeed difficult to deal with. He almost wanted to wave his hands to let Ling Tian go, so he would not have to torture himself. But thinking about Yang Kongkun's strict orders about investigating Ling Tian, he could only swallow his anger. I believe that young noble also knows that a large matter occurred in our Yang family last night. We also have no choice but to search everyone who enters or leaves the city. This little one is only a subordinate, and I hope that young noble will show me some mercy, letting me perform the formalities. I hope young noble can be more understanding. Ling Tian raised his eyes. Large matter? What large matter? Did that old fogey, Yang Kongkun, die? That single phrase made Yang Yan almost faint from anger, as fire could be seen shooting out from his eyes. Thus, he could only lower his head to avoid Ling Tian from seeing the anger in his eyes. However, he could not control his body from trembling. Young noble must be joking. Our family head is still extremely healthy, and it had been rare for him to even fall ill in the past decade. How would he have an accident? However, Nan Gongla, who came to my house as guest, was assassinated by a scoundrel. Ling Tian replied with a no before saying, I see, that Silk Pants died. The moment I saw him, I knew that he was short-lived. He had finally listened to the heavens, ha ha ha. Right, doesn't that mean that your little miss is now a widow? I heard that if you were to marry her over in such a circumstance, she will have to attend the wedding ceremony with a rooster. Yang Yan, after hearing this piece of news, this young noble feels extremely good in my heart. Men, reward him. Yang Yan's body shook from anger as his lips also turned green, almost spitting out a mouthful of blood. He glared at Ling Tian fiercely, almost wanting to bite off a piece of meat from Ling Tian. The faces of the Yang family's guards were also ashen, with their hands placed on the hilt of their blades, staring at Ling Tian with a bloody killing intent. Wang Tong, who was by the side, came forward and handed out an ingot of silver. This is my young noble's reward, quickly thank my young noble. In a fit of rage, Yang Yan had subconsciously pushed Wang Tong's hand away. Ling Tian was enraged as he saw that. With a loud paw, his whip lashed out, whipping a deep, bloody scar on Yang Yan's face. You dare to reject this young noble's reward? Are you seeking death? Why are all of you looking at me like that? You want to bite me? It seems that all of you are fat on guts. Scram. What has the death of Nan Gongla has got to do with this young noble? This daddy here is just happy that he is dead. His marriage partner isn't my younger sister anyway. He is completely unrelated to me. On whose authority are you guys relying on to block me here? Yang Yan covered his face with his hand as his eyes gleamed with hatred, almost exploding on the spot. As the head butler of the Yang family, he had always been a tyrannical being in the sky-bearing empire. Even if a normal government official were to see him, they would have to greet him from afar. Since when did he suffer from such humiliation? But, the person in front of him was someone who his young master, Yang Wei, master, Yang Lei, and even old master, Yang Kongku, was extremely wary of. With the heavy responsibility of testing Ling Tian, how would Yang Yan dare to create trouble? Taking in a deep breath, he tried his best to stabilize his emotions. With a dry laughter which sounded even worse than him crying, he said, Young noble Ling must be joking. Ha ha, young noble Ling is definitely someone magnanimous who will not make things difficult for us servants. Joking? Ha ha ha, what a joke. Yang Yan, are you my son? Why would I have the mood to joke with you? If you are not going to move aside, this young noble will make your head land on the floor. Ling Tian revealed a vicious smile, his white teeth glistening in the scorching sunlight, making him look like a ferocious animal choosing his prey to devour. Ling Tian knew that with Yang Yan's usual courage, Yang Yan would only be afraid that he was not willing to leave. How was it possible for Yang Yan to have the guts to check on him? For Yang Yan to be so insistent, Yang Kongku must have given a strict order to Yang Yan. As long as he takes a step back today, even if he had no suspicions, he would become the greatest suspect when the Yang family relay the matters today into the ears of the Nangong family. At that time, it would really be like the saying, with the yellow mud in your pants, it would be shit even if it isn't shit. Thus, Ling Tian definitely cannot give way at this moment. Not only will he not give way, he would be as domineering as he can be and give Yang Kongkun a good act. You, Yang Kongkun, actually dare to make me, Ling Tian, into your dartboard to deal with the Nangong family? How can I let things go your way? Men. Drag all of these henchmen from the Yang family to the side and give them a good beating. Ling Tian shouted out. With a sinister laughter, he continued, the son-in-law of the Yang family is dead and you guys want to vent your anger on me? You guys must be blind. Beat them. Beat them harshly. The person who beats them up the most, this young noble will reward you. With a command, Wang Tong, Li King and the other guards of the Ling family grew excited. Without a shred of hesitation, Wang Tong's hand swung out and gave a good slap to Yang Yun with a crisp and melodious sound. Yang Yun immediately spun on the spot from the slap, falling on the floor like a ballerina. It seems as though this world does this not have any ballerinas. Stars could be seen in his eyes, with blood flowing down from the corners of his mouth. As he opened his mouth, a few white teeth fell onto the ground with a trail of blood following them. Wang Tong then scolded, the young noble rewarded you and a slave like you actually did not know how to thank him. You even had the guts to use your backing to block my young noble's way and offend my young noble's teacher. Is this how that old man Yang teaches you usually? You really threw the face of Yang Kongkun. Grandpa Wang here will help your master, Yang Kongkun, discipline his servants. From today on, you must know how high the heavens are and how thick the grounds are when you come out. Don't think that you are much just because you are a dog of the Yang family. Not to mention you, even your old master does not have the rights to be so rude to my young noble. If I don't give you a good beating today, you wouldn't know what the rules out here are. As he scolded, his legs were not idle, stomping on Yang Yun's face with his boots. Yang Yun was only able to let out a shriek, "Save me, have mercy," before fainting. As the guards of the Yang family saw the Ling family's guards beat up Yang Yun, they could no longer hold back their anger. With rage burning in their eyes, they all began to pounce forward. The guards behind Ling Tian had already been rubbing their fists in excitement, as they looked at Wang Tong beat Yang Yun up with envy. Without a command, they also let out a battle cry and pounced forward. In that instant, a huge chain reaction started and the fight grew out of hand. By the city gates, the guards of the Ling and Yang family were tangled up in a large mess. The sounds of battles, cries of agony, cursing, punches, made a beautiful melody. Ling Tian was still seated atop his horse, leisurely wandering around in the mess. His suave face was filled with 30% of delight, 30% of cruelty and 30% of excitement. At the same time, he cursed and scolded the guards of the Yang family as the whip in his hands lashed out towards the faces of the guards. Every single whip would result in blood and flesh splattering all over. While the guards of the Yang family dared to fight back against the others from the Ling family, they only dared to avoid this young noble. Good servant, for this young noble to beat you, it means that I think highly of you. You dare to dodge? Such arrogant words naturally came out from the #1 silk pants of the sky-bearing empire. The guards from both families shoved each other about, overcrowding the city gates as they broke out in battle. The original guards of the city gates had already been pushed out of the city. They observed the fight from afar, watching the scene in front of them excitedly as though it was a play. Why wasn't there anyone stopping the fight? Stop them. Who would dare to? Didn't they see that it was young noble Ling? His uncle-in-law is the current emperor. He had always beaten people up for nothing and it was no longer anything new after so many years. On the top of the city walls, a row of neatly ordered heads appeared, watching the fight between the two families excitedly. Ling Tian's hat was already slanted as the corners of his lips contorted with a malevolent grin. A string of curses flowed out from his mouth fluently, as his outer coat was also half opened. The whip in his hand sliced through the wind continuously, ringing out in the air like the sound of wind blowing through the bamboo forest. Everyone's mouth was agape in shock. He was indeed the #1 silk pants of the sky-bearing empire. He should probably be called the #1 silk pants in the world. About 100 people from the Ling family came, and the Yang family also had about 100 people stationed by the city gates. While the numbers from both sides were similar, the strength of both parties could be seen with a single glance. With Ling Tian being there personally, the morale of the Ling family's guards was unconsciously higher. Even though Ling Tian walked through the crowd on his horse and lashed out his whip, no one from the Yang family dared to attack this young noble from the Ling family. They all knew that it wasn't much for them to fight with the guards of the Ling family. Regardless of whoever was victorious, they would at least get to vent their anger. But if they were to injure this young noble Ling, even Yang Kong may not be able to protect them, even if he tried his best. Furthermore, they all knew how their old master was like. If they were to really touch that silk pants, even without the Ling family punishing them, their own old master would probably kill them as an apology. Who would be so foolish? They would just dodge whatever they could. If they could not, they would just suffer from a whip or two at most. No matter what, it was still better than losing their lives. A short while later, victory and defeat was quickly determined. While the guards of the Ling family were injured, there were not many from the Yang family who could even stand up, as they all lay on the floor,